for the introduction. Okay. I'm Naomi. As Mariana said, I head the HR department for Fenlex Corporate Services. Together with myself, I have Bernice on call, who helps coordinate the HR team. Basically, Fenlex, is made up of a larger organization. So we are 3 associated entities. We have Fenneck & Fenneck Advocate, which is a law firm, Fenneck & Fenneck Marine Services, which is a shipping company, and then we have Fenlex. So we're actually made up of 3 associated entities that make one large organization. Fenlex is at 135 employees as a group, so I like to say that we're not too small, but not too big. So, we still allow for career progression opportunities while maintaining that very close working relationship with all our staff. So just in case any of you, see any of our adverts, please feel free to take my email address down and apply directly with myself for any positions that you may be interested in the near future. Today, obviously, we're going to be discussing interview preparation, which is an extremely important topic, especially for people like yourselves who are close to finishing your university degrees or masters. And basically, I'll be talking you through some practical examples that I would find very useful should I be, starting the interview process myself. Feel free to ask any questions at the end of the presentation. I believe that's how we're going to work, Mariana, right? The questions will be at the end. Okay, so I'm
pretty sure if anyone has any questions, just send in the chat and we'll answer them then.
Okay, great. So we'll start off. Whoopsie daisy. Okay, so interview invitation. This is the first step in you, being invited for an interview. So congratulations if you do reach this step. This means that your qualities and qualifications on your CV are what the company you applied with are looking for. Obviously, I'm not going to go into the requirements of your CV and what you should do, but just a few quick tips is to use sort of templates that are found online. We tend to recommend the Europass CV template and to always list your most frequent working experience or qualifications from top to bottom, okay? So yes, this is the first stage. You've been invited for an interview. So what do you do next? You do your research, okay? This is the first step of the recruitment process. So take the time to prepare for your interview, okay? Interviews are going to be crucial in, obviously, you getting a job or not. So how would you prepare? So get to know the company you are working for. I mean, nowadays we are extremely blessed with the internet and with the fact that, companies more often than not have websites. So do your research, go on the company's website and not only research, the overall company and, the company's culture, the services and everything else to do with the company itself. However, more often than not, companies also list their teams on their website. For instance, if you were to go on Fenlex's website, we have every team member's profile on the website, and if you click on their picture, it will give you a brief background to their previous working experience, qualifications, and what they currently do with us. So here it's very good for you to understand the team dynamics of perhaps the role that you are applying for. So you would already know, let's say you're applying for, I don't know, a position within a tax accountants department. You would know how many tax accountants are in the team. You would get an idea of the reporting line by seeing, whether there's a manager, a supervisor, senior tax accountants, junior tax accountants. So it's important not only to understand the company, but as much as possible to also understand, the team dynamics of the organization. And naturally, which is a point that I'll get to at a later stage, you can then use this by asking questions about the team while still saying, I did have a look and I saw that the team is made up of, for instance, 10 people, so on and so forth. So being educated about the company you're applying for shows that you're truly interested. This is a question that I would start off with. So I'd say, what do you know about Fenlex and why did you apply for the role? Unfortunately, I have many interviews where, they wouldn't know much about Fenlex. And I'm going to be very honest, this doesn't make, the greatest of first impressions. So it would be great for you to be able to tell me, Fenlex is a corporate service provider. You've been around for 30 years. And you could go into, you know, the remit, just a brief summary. There's no need to go into too much detail, but just a brief summary so that you can show that you know what the company does. And basically this will increase your chances of getting shortlisted, possibly for a second interview. Naturally, every company works differently. Your interview process could either stop at a first interview, but let's say in the case of ourselves, more often than not, we would go to a second interview if we feel it is required. Okay, so this will basically help you in gaining that added value in the fact that you've done your research and you know what the company is all about. So that is step one, and it is crucial. So the next step is your job description. You've obviously applied for a job because, you know, you've seen a job description and you feel that your profile matches what is being asked for. So within a job, I think we've all seen job descriptions, okay, and adverts online. What do they contain? They contain the requirements, the responsibilities, and through a job description, you get an overall sort of idea of what that employer is looking for in an ideal candidate. In fact, many questions that I would ask in an interview are, you know, prepared by going through the job description. So if I need someone, you know, with certain experience, it would be listed in the job requirements and responsibilities, and I would ask you whether you have any experience in that field, for instance. If the requirements require you to be very good at using, let's say, Microsoft Excel, it would be a requirement, and I would ask you these questions. So you can prepare yourself too by looking at the job description, reading it properly, and, you know, preparing the questions in your mind and preparing your answers to those questions too. As much as possible, you should try and align yourself with these qualities. Obviously, an alignment has to come naturally, so I'm not telling you to sort of say anything that isn't necessarily true. That is a definite no-no. However, what I'm saying is try and align your qualities with what the job description is asking, okay? And like I said, the job description will serve as a guide to what the questions may be. So that is the second element. So we had the first element, which was knowing the company, getting to know the culture, the team. The next step is the job description. So, you know, reading the job description, making sure that, you know, you applied for a role that is suitable both for you and for the employer, and, you know, preparing those questions from your end as well as the answers. So what the next stage, that would be, you know, the common interview questions. So I've just told you, you know, to read through the job description and, you know, prepare your answers with regards to the job description. However, aside from those questions, there are typical questions that one would ask, okay, within an interview. Obviously, it's going to be very hard to, you know, prepare for all the questions that can be asked for an interview. Why? Because no interview is the same, no interviewer is the same. However, you can, you know, prepare yourself for certain commonly asked questions. And here I've, you know, taken out of all the questions that are commonly asked, I've taken out two, which I find are very important, and which I find that, you know, people straight out of university tend to get a bit stuck on. And this is why I've, you know, focused on mainly these two questions. One of them is to do with salary expectations. So many a times when I am, you know, giving an interview, one of the crucial questions is, you know, what are your salary expectations? Many of you would be straight out of university, perhaps doing, you know, part-time jobs here and there, and wouldn't have a good understanding of what your gross annual salary expectations would be. However, this is very important because it can be sort of, you know, it can make or break your chances of getting a job, in the sense that, you know, I would want you to tell me what your expectations are, because I would be able to see whether they align with our, you know, salary scales and the employment offer that we are willing to give for certain roles. So what I would suggest doing is doing, you know, salary research, and this nowadays, thankfully, again, thanks to internet and everything else, is extremely accessible. There are many recruitment agencies that, you know, upload salary brackets on their website for different roles, so you can get a good understanding of what the market is offering. So here, if an interviewer were to ask you, you know, what are your salary expectations, you can be honest, obviously there are different scenarios, but let's say you're straight out of university, you've only worked part-time with an hourly, pay, and you'd say, listen, I've understood that the market salary for this role is between 20 and 22,000 gross per annum. So I would, with my qualifications and basic work experience, I would, list my salary expectations between that bracket. And like that, the interviewer has a good indication of what your expectations are. And the interviewer would then be able to see that your expectations are aligned with what the company is willing to offer. Now, this question, I ask this question in every interview, and many people get stuck on this question. I would ask you, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? So the strengths flow out, no problem. However, when it comes to the weaknesses, many people get very stuck and tell me, I just cannot think of something. It's good to do, a bit of self-reflection before your interview and analyze, what you feel are truly your strengths and what you feel, I wouldn't like to call them weaknesses per se, are points for development. We all have things that we need to work on. We all have things that need development. I mean, I've been in the industry for the last 6.5 years, and I still, until this day and age, feel that there are certain points that I need to develop further. And there's no, wrongdoing in that. So do a bit of a self-analysis and say, if I were to ask you, if you were to come to an interview with me today, so Naomi is interviewing you and I'm asking you, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Are you able to answer that question or not? So, just keep that in mind. Naturally, there are many other questions. However, I find that these are the two more crucial ones. So, prepare questions. So, on average, I do about 3 interviews a day, I would say. And, many times I would explain the company, explain the role, explain the team, explain the company culture, and everything else. And sometimes I feel like, I'm going on and on and on, and I haven't gotten much from the person I'm interviewing. I'd ask them any questions from your end, and more often than not, they tell me, no, you've answered everything. However, I enjoy it when I'm, conducting an interview and the person I'm interviewing would, ask me certain questions that perhaps I wouldn't have covered. And I'll go into what kind of questions you can ask, because this shows, how truly interested you are in the role. If I were to be thinking of, going for interviews elsewhere, I'd want to know all the details that I could about the company, and you should have the same interest and enthusiasm about the role. And you can show this by going above and beyond and asking certain questions. Okay. And again, it shows that you're genuinely interested. Now you tell me, what are these questions? So you can ask, what is a typical day like in the role? Is this a new role that has been created, or are you simply filling in your turnover? What do you expect from team members in this position? So you could get a better understanding of what the expectations of the employer are. What is the biggest challenge someone in this position could face? This could give you a good indication of, the workload, the pressures, and perhaps the work-life balance. What are the next steps in the interview process? Like I said in the beginning of the presentation, not every interview process is the same, and you showing that you're interested in what the next steps would be is a good point. So, do ask those questions and do show that interest from your end. Sell yourself. Guys, the interview is your first step to starting your career. So it is your chance to really promote yourself and basically sell yourself, okay? Now, by sell yourself, what do I mean? I mean, set yourself apart from other applicants. So, make first impressions do count. So make a good first impression, be on time, presentable, and everything else that you require for an interview. And one tip that I have is adding your picture, a professional picture, to your CV. Many times, let's say for one role, I'll do over 40 interviews. And, I'll take notes. However, when I'm going through them, it is much easier for me to remember a certain profile by, distinguishing that profile with a picture. So that can help in setting yourself sort of apart. Naturally, your interview would still have had to go well. Your professional skills. So your skills are extremely important. Now, you have to acknowledge what your professional skills are, so what your education background is, and present this to the employer in the best of ways. So when you're fresh out of university, more often than not, your working experience may not necessarily be relevant. So you need to focus on what your professional skills are. What are you able to bring to the table through your academic studies that you're currently doing at the university. So transferable skills, this is an extremely interesting point. When you're fresh out of university, even if you do have work experience, there are certain skills that you don't necessarily gain through work. However, so for instance, I used to play basketball back in the day. You tell me, how is this relevant to your role? I had mentioned it actually in my interview with Fenlex, which again was 6 years ago. And how is this relevant? This is relevant because I played a team sport, so it showed that I know how to work within a team. With sports comes discipline, so you have training, you have games, so there's a certain element of discipline and responsibility as well as sacrifice at times. And this is transferable. So obviously me having the ability to play basketball isn't going to be relevant to HR. However, the skills that I've learned through that sport are transferable to my soft skills, which more often than not are extremely important in any role you are applying for. So you may have the qualifications, but the character for the role is just as important, okay? And you need to show that you have these skills that you may not necessarily get through university qualifications or work experience. This is a side of this, okay? And sometimes it's even good to list these on your CV. I remember not long ago we were interviewing for a facilities manager within our organization, and someone didn't necessarily have the relevant work experience. However, I saw that he kept extremely busy. He was a bee maker on the week, so he produced honey on the weekends. He loved sailing. He had a lot of hobbies and kept extremely busy. What did this show me? That this person likes to be busy, this person likes a challenge, motivated, likes to get a lot done in his day. And I actually interviewed him, and we proceeded obviously with the recruitment process. So it's good to also list these things and mention them when you're doing an interview. However, with mentioning them, it goes on to my next point, which is to make sure that the information you choose to discuss is relevant. So again, most HR managers are extremely busy, so time is of the essence. And while it's important to say as much as you can about yourself, do keep the information you're discussing relevant to the role that you are applying for. Okay, so try and be as concise as possible. Even when it comes to cover letters, when you're applying for jobs, it's very good to be concise. We receive hundreds of applications. If you have 2 pages worth of a cover letter, your chances of someone reading it from beginning to end are slim. If it's shorter, concise, still getting the same information across, you have a better chance of someone reading the full thing. So again, this is relevant to the third point that we mentioned, which is to discuss accomplishments, things that you have achieved. So I see quite a lot of CVs naturally, and what does stand out is if someone tells me, for instance, they've won an award at university, or their thesis got, the best title, or they've been awarded some kind, anything to do with their course, within their course. So that's more from a sort of professional perspective, and then also from a personal perspective, like I was mentioning before. If you've run a half marathon, if you've done a marathon, if you've done Ironman or anything, of the sort, that is an achievement. Again, this shows that you're persistent, you're driven, you're challenged, and you finish things that you started. So those are my points in what to give during an interview. Again, always being concise, okay? So guys, good luck. Obviously your first interview can tend to be a bit daunting. However, I do hope that the few tips that I've given you today will help you in feeling more prepared, because preparation is key, especially in your first few interviews where you may feel the pressure slightly more. Obviously practice does make perfect, although I don't believe in perfection, but obviously it will help you in gaining your confidence and delivering better during interviews. And, you know, do keep an eye out, do like our LinkedIn page, our Facebook page, and take a look on our website. We are constantly recruiting, and we are a growing team. Our average age is 30, which is considered, you know, to be a relatively young age group. And we're always on the lookout for, you know, young aspiring candidates, and we currently have quite a few roles too. So again, feel free to take my email address down and contact me directly. Even if you want to, you know, pick up the phone, give me a call, explain what you're currently doing, any role that you may have an interest in, say that you've attended, you know, today's meeting, and we can have a little chat. So I'm always open. I adopt, you know, not only an open door policy, but an open phone policy whenever, you know, someone wants to discuss something, I am open to doing so. So I hope today, you know, helped you gain that little bit more of skills and pointers as to what you can do. And that's it from my end for today.
Thank you, Naomi, for that.
Welcome.
Everything is okay from your end, so, or?
From my end?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, all is well. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yes, that's why.
You can go on to Andriana. Thank you, guys, and have a good rest of the day.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
By any chance, am I sharing?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Naomi and Bernice. I'm Andriana from KPMG. I form part of the HR department, and my role in this department is basically I manage the student strategy within our firm. So whatever anything that has got to do with students, student recruitment, engagement, etc., falls under my cap, kind of. So I'm going to discuss the do's and don'ts within an interview. So, give me a second. In a nutshell, I've gathered everything into one slide. So as Naomi said, we agree with everything that they've said, and from my end, I'm going to discuss the obvious things, but the things actually interested in our company. Another thing is, tell us something more about you. So first of all, obviously, we've received your CV. The interviewer has read your CV. So, you know, we know you through the CV. So don't just tell us everything that's in the CV. Just tell us a bit more about you outside of the CV. Naomi gave very good examples. Like, for example, so something that I have to tell you as well, at your level, I mean, we don't expect that you have experience in the field, such as, you know, for example, we look at for accountants, etc. We know that at your level, you're students. So your expertise lie in something else. Like, for example, Naomi mentioned she was in basketball. These things, do mention them because they're important for us to you know, understand whether you're a team player, whether you're a leader, various other things. So do mention them. It's a very good opportunity as well to practice your answers and responses. So this gives you the opportunity to you know, build a story as in and practice it for the interview. It might be an opportunity because you will use it, or you might not use it. Always, you know, go with the flow. This might be pretty obvious, but like I said, a lot of people take it for granted where appropriate for an interview. For example, when you are doing an interview with a professional company like us and Fenlex, basically, I mean, we would like to see students who are dressed smart. First impression counts. I mean, obviously, this doesn't apply to each and every job. Obviously, if you're doing an interview with as a waiter for summer job, etc. You need to adapt. However, when you are going for an interview for a professional company, it's very important that you come dressed smart and comfortable as well. So I'm going to give two scenarios, both for the ladies and for you guys. Basically, I mean, try to avoid for the ladies, try to avoid tight dresses. We understand that I mean, even at my age, an interview can be a bit stressful, so adding more stress by wearing something not comfortable, it's stress that you don't need. So try to be comfortable so that you're not worried that the dress is too tight, that the shirt is too tight, whatever. So do keep these into consideration. And for the guys, avoid tight shirts and make sure that you're well groomed as well. Um, um, it's also a good tip to come to an interview a little bit early. We always suggest 15 minutes. This gives you time, to sit at reception. Sometimes, I mean, depending on the company, they can offer you a coffee or something or a glass of tea. This gives you time to calm down because, like I said, an interview can be stressful, and that time, it's a good time for you. You're here, you arrived. I mean, you're taking your time to relax, you're taking your time to get out the best of you. So I do encourage you to come a bit early. I mean, if you come rushed, imagine, you just come rushed. You still didn't find your room. The receptionist doesn't know about you. A little bit of panic station, and you switch on into interview mode, and you're not at your best. So it might not help. Another important tip, basically, be nice to everyone from the moment you walk in to the moment you walk out. It could be like, for example, you arrive with the car and the facility, wherever you're going for an interview. I mean, we provided there's the parking space available. You park in the car park, you take someone else's car park space. I don't know, or try to be nice with everyone in the lift. I mean, smile, say good morning. At reception, when you go up to reception, always greet the receptionist with a smile. Introduce yourself. Tell her who you're meant that you're here for an interview. Even when you walk out, do the same thing. At the end of the day, these people, if you're chosen and you make it to be the one who joins the team, they could be your future colleagues. So we feel that it's very important to set the scene and make this good impression. And at the end, I mean, like Naomi said, tell us why you are the right person for this position. So it's up to you here. You need to convince us that you are the right person for this position, and this you can practice for it. So it's pretty easy to practice for this answer. I mean, it's something that we look out for every interview. So it's quite straightforward. With regards to don't something that you shouldn't do in an interview, I have already gone through with them. I mean, don't come rush. Uh, tell us what you have. Don't just tell us what you have in your CV. Something else is try to avoid, answers yes or no. I mean, you're just shutting down an opportunity for a conversation there. Always, try to yes, because this and that, or no, because I'm not particularly interested in that. I mean, whatever it is, don't just say yes or no. You know, it's always good to elaborate on your responses. And at the end, don't leave without saying thank you. I mean, the interview. I mean, we interview a lot of students, and we try to give an opportunity to each and every student who apply and goes through the selection progress. So it's also an opportunity. An interview, it's also an opportunity to grow, learn, maybe through your mistakes. If you're not chosen, usually the interviewer always gives you the outcome after the interview. I mean, probably the last 5 minutes would be literally feedback on, at least that's what we do, on how you've done in the interview. So you know, it's also a learning curve for you for other interviews that might come in the future. That's it from my end. Obviously, a big good luck, because I know that the next step is the Jumpstart Your Career, organized by ASCS, which is in December. I really hope, I don't know, that I'll have the opportunity to interview some of you that are in this call at the moment. As you know, we've got open positions for anyone who's doing the BCom in accounts and masters in accountancy. So whoever is interested to know more about our firm, KPMG, and the opportunities we have, do reach out to me, and we'll see you at the event. So good luck.
Thank you, Adriana. I don't know if anyone has a question they'd like to ask. You can either unmute your mics or put it down in the chat box regarding interviews.
Guys, this is one of the points that I mentioned in your interviews, to ask questions. So please ask us something. We're here to, you know, provide any help and tips that we can. Anyone?
Mela, they understood everything, but
Yes,
I was actually going to quote you when you started speaking. I just pressed the unmute button. So
so if no questions have to ask, we're going to dedicate 1 minute of silence in respect to Prof. Oliver Frigieri. So. Thank you everyone for dedicating that minute to Prof. Oliver Frigieri. We do have a question. I don't know who wants to answer it. What would be the skills and experience one is looking for an ideal candidate?
Adriana, I'll let you go ahead.
hello?
Hello?
Okay, all right, sorry. So it depends on what position you apply for. However, with regards to, so most probably even Naomi will answer this as well.
Yeah.
However, from our end, we've got different levels. So we recruit students from first year to join us, second year, third year, fourth year, and fifth year, and we expect different levels with regards to education at that stage. However, obviously, when we are talking about full-timers, it's a completely different thing. I mean, there's a job description, and usually there's everything written in the job description that we would need from whoever's applying. With regards to students, and I'm assuming that the majority of people in this call are all students, it's there isn't a generic one, as in there isn't a prototype. However, if you have one of these, like for example, you're a team player, you've got leadership skills, and these are manifested in a lot of different things that you do. Probably you wouldn't even know that they're there. Even through, for example, I don't know, piano lessons, or any hobbies that you might have. We tend to like those things and interpret them in the working world. When we recruit students, we give you a lot of training. So in the with regards to our professional, we will guide you through that. For example, if we recruit you from first year, we will give you enough training so that when you eventually graduate and you start off with us after you graduate, you are fully trained to start off your career with us. So there isn't a direct answer. I mean, we always go through each and every CV and try to see the potential in each and every student. Obviously, from our end, we look for those who are studying and pursuing a career in accounts, that is becoming an accountant, because at the end of the day, we are an accountancy firm, and that's what we require the most. So I hope I answered the question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Welcome.
I mean, from my end, I mean, Andriana, you basically said it all. But I feel at all, grades that you're interviewing for, there are two aspects. So there's the qualification aspect, so in making sure that the education background fits within your role, and there's the soft skill aspect that I give a lot of importance to. So one's nature and how you would answer certain questions, and whether you would be an overall good fit for our company culture, because every company is different, and I do feel that you need to fit within an organization, and that this is crucial, also when applying for roles and making sure that the type of company you're applying for is what you're after. So what the big four can offer you is one thing, what a gaming company can offer you is another thing, and what a company like us can offer you is a nice in between. So that's it from my end.
Thank you. Anyone, please, if you have any questions, please do let us know. If not, and you want to speak, I want to ask questions later on, just leave a message on the ASCS page and we'll forward any questions. Other than that, thank you for joining us. I hope you all learned something today, and we look forward to seeing you in Jumpstart Your Career.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.